Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth with Ellie's Handcrafted Jewelry, and today I'm going to show you step by step how to create these lovely woven band earrings. The materials and tools will be listed in the description below, as well as some links to the tools that I used in this video. So let's get started. First we'll need two 5-inch segments of 18 gauge wire, 6 segments of 20 gauge wire also cut to 5 inches, 2 4mm beads, 2 ear wires, 2 jump rings. For tools, we'll need chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, and flush cutters. We'll also need an awl, and we'll also need a ruler and a Sharpie. Now take your 18 gauge segment of wire and lay it down next to the ruler, and we're going to mark at 2.5 inches. So that should be at the center of the wire. From that mark, we're going to mark at 5/8 of an inch on one side. So it's just a little bit next to a little over a 1/2 inch. And then do the same on the other side from that middle mark. Just like so. And this is what your piece should look like. Now we're going to take our weaving wire and we're going to wrap it around that 18 gauge segment 3 times. Now that we have wrapped the weaving wire around the base wire 3 times, we're going to grab our 20 gauge segment of wire and lay it underneath the previous wire. And then we're going to take our weaving wire and we're going to wrap it around both wires 1 time. Next, we're going to grab another 20 gauge segment of wire and lay it next to the previous wire. And then from there, we're going to wrap the weaving wire around the bottom 2 wires. And then we're going to add one more 20 gauge wire to the bottom. Take our weaving wire and then wrap it around again the bottom 2 wires. Should look like this. And then we're going to take the bottom wire and wrap it 1 time around just the bottom base wire. From there, we're going to take the weaving wire up the back side and over the top, and then we're going to go around the top 2 base wires. And then from there, come in between the top 2 base wires to wrap around the next 2 base wires. And we're going to come in between the base wires and then down around to wrap around the bottom 2 base wires. And now we wrap around the bottom base wire like so. We'll go ahead and do this one more time, coming up the back, over the top, and around the top 2 base wires. Then coming in between the top 2 base wires. And then around the middle 2 base wires. Coming in between the middle 2 base wires. Then down and around the back here. So we're wrapping the last 2 and then wrapping this last base wire here at the bottom. And we're going to do this from the beginning to the end of the marks. And also make sure to compress the weaves as you go. And this is what the weave should look like from beginning to end. As you can see, the top has only 1 loop over it, whereas the bottom has more like 2 loops. Alright, from there we're going to take the remaining weaving wire and bring it up the back, and then we're going to wrap it around the top base wire 3 times. This will conclude the weave. And from there we can go ahead and pull and twist to pull off the remaining weaving wire. You can also use your flesh cutters if you prefer, and do the same on the other side. From there we're going to go ahead and take our chain nose pliers. In this case I have tweezer nose pliers, and we're going to bend up the 18 gauge segments of wire. So it's almost like a triangle. From there we're going to go ahead and curve the bottom portion, just using your hands and a little bit of pressure from either side. You don't want to use too much pressure, this will make the weave fold. And from there we're going to go ahead and separate the top remaining base wires from the bottom two. And then we're going to take our middle base wires and we're going to fold them over like so. Do the same on the opposite side. And this is going to make it look almost like a bow. We're going to hold the ends down where they meet at the bottom of the weave and take our flesh cutters and we'll trim right there at the bottom of the weave. And this is what it should look like so far. And then we're going to take the bottom base wires and bend them almost the same way, going underneath the previous base wires. And then we're going to go ahead and create a loop. And the loop is going to be going inward. And you can use your round nose pliers too if you would prefer. It makes it a little easier for you. Once I kind of get my loop where I want it, I'll move on to the other side and do my best to mirror the other side. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the loops so they're kind of matching on either side. And just take your time to adjust it to where you like it. And once you get it where you want it, go ahead and take your flesh cutters and trim about 1/8 of an inch from underneath the weave. Now take your round nose pliers and we're going to create a nice little loop at the end of the bottom base wires. We're going to be swirling it in towards the loop. And now we're going to do the same on the opposite side. Swirling it in towards the loop. Now once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and work on the other one and swirl this one in the same direction, only going upward. And it's going to sit on top like so. And then we're going to do the same to the opposite side, mirroring the first side. Now feel free to adjust the loops as needed to make sure that they match on either side. And this is what you should have so far. Now we're going to take the remaining base wires and we're going to create another loop, but this time the loop is going to overlap the previous two base wires. And we're going to be rotating it inward. And then we're going to do the same on the opposite side. And I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers and adjust the loop. Make sure they're even on either side. And now I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to measure 1/2 inch from the top of the loop. I'll use my flush cutters to cut off the excess wire. Now we'll go ahead and repeat this on the other side. Now once we've cut off the excess wire, we'll take our round nose pliers and we're going to create a loop on the top and curling it towards the outside of the frame. And of course, repeating this on the opposite side. Now that we've completed the last step, we're going to go ahead and grab our ruler and we're going to measure the remaining wire at 1.5 inches and cut it off with our flush cutters. And of course, repeating this on the opposite side. Now we're going to go ahead and take our round nose pliers and we're going to create a loop on the top here. And we're just going to go ahead and create a loop that's going towards the back. And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers to kind of bend that loop forward a little bit so it kind of stands on top like an eye pin would. And we'll just repeat the same on the opposite side. Now we're going to need to create a couple of holes for our weaving wire to go through. So I'm going to take my earring and lay it down flat on a surface. And then I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to penetrate the weave a little bit so that there's enough of an opening that I can stick my weaving wire through. And we're going to make 2 holes on either side. And then we're going to trim off a piece of weaving wire, string on our bead, and then we're going to kind of fold it in half best we can. We'll go ahead and straighten the weaving wire best we can so that we can put it through the holes in our weave. Now we're going to feed the weaving wire in through the holes in our weave, being very careful to do so. String it through and pull it through until it's tightly against the weave. From there, we're going to take our weaving wire and we're going to wrap it around one of the loops here. And so we're going to go over the top and through and out towards the back. And the weaving wire should be going out towards the outside of the earring. And we're just going to repeat the same on the other side. Now, as you're doing this, be sure not to pull the wire too tight. We just want it tight enough to where it's holding the loops against the weave. Now we're going to take our round nose pliers and open up those loops a little bit. And then we're going to pull up the weaving wire up from behind the earring. And we're going to wrap it around those loops. Now we're going to wrap around those top loops 3 times. Now we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Now be sure not to pull too tight. We don't want to pull the loops down behind the weave, but we want them to be secured to the earring. Once the weave's been secured, I'm going to go ahead and pull and twist these pieces off. And I'm going to do the same to the other one. You can use your flush cutters as well if that's easier. I just prefer this method because it leaves clean cuts. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to go ahead and close those loops back up. Next, I'm going to take a couple segments of 28 gauge wire, about 3 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around the 18 gauge base wires here 3 times. Once I've wrapped this around the base wire 3 times, I'm going to send the weaving wire through the loop and then secure it to the base wire. I'm going to do this by wrapping it around the base wire 3 more times. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my chain nose pliers to kind of scrunch that together. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my flush cutters and cut off the excess. Grab my chain nose pliers again and tuck those into the base wire as best as I can. And of course we're going to go ahead and repeat the same steps on the next side. Taking the flush cutters and trimming off the excess, and then tucking in those burrs with my chain nose pliers. And now we're on to the final steps. Just going to take our jump ring and open the jump ring. And then we're going to go ahead and put that through the top there of our earring and secure the jump ring by closing it up. Next, I'm going to take my ear wire, open it up, and then put my earring on it, and then close that loop back up again. And now we have our first earring. Thanks so much for being here, and be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and have a great wrapping day.